Are you a Canadian citizen or a PR and about to sponsor your husband and wife under the spousal sponsorship? Then you have come to the right channel. Spousal sponsorship is all what I post videos about on this channel, and today we will talk about the 5 most important things that you can do or things that you can make sure you have done before or after you have submitted your application in Canada. Please note that this video will not be covering the obvious answers like
you have to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident to be able to sponsor,
or
the PRs can only sponsor from inside Canada and all that stuff.
Instead, in this video, I will be keeping all the basic and usual information aside and only cover some deep insights on this topic, as I've gained enough understanding on this particular field after receiving successful results for my wife's sponsorship on what things are to be noted or taken care of. And the main purpose of this video is to keep you informed about them as well. Alright, before moving on to the video, if you're new to this channel and if you're someone looking for some info on spousal sponsorship in Canada, or if you're planning to apply for it soon, then make sure to hit that red subscribe button down there that keeps calling out for you. I post videos on a regular basis regarding different immigration topics specifically related to Canada. So if Canada is of your interest, please make sure to subscribe. Alright, without any further ado, let's get started. So the first one that a lot of applicants fail to understand the importance of is the signature. I put this at the top because I consider it to be one of the most important aspects of your application. No matter how hard you worked on your file and no matter how much time you spend gathering and verifying documents, if you, either the sponsor or the principal applicant, fails to put their signatures or initials on any of the slots or on any of the documents that I discussed in this video, then all your hard work is in vain. The IRCC considers your signatures as a validation that you have agreed to and understood all the terms and conditions of your application, and also considers it as an agreement between you and them that the information mentioned by you will be shared by other organizations and authorities for proper validation and authentication. So basically, it's a straightforward thing. If you forget to mention your consent to it or your permission to it, then the IRCC reserves all the rights to not continue with your application. So make sure twice, or I'll suggest 3 times, that you're not missing any signatures. Because keep in mind, IRCC wouldn't be too concerned if you forget to attach, let's say, your notice of assessment or a pay stub to your file, because they can always ask for it later on. But if you miss a signature, then the application returned unprocessed is an obvious thing. Okay, so the next thing that you need to make sure to attach with your application is the marriage certificate. Please be advised that this point is only applicable for the people sponsoring their husband or wife under the family class. For the ones applying under the conjugal or the common law relationship, you're generally not required to submit this document. So for the married couples looking to soon apply for sponsorship, please note that the IRCC mentions on their website that a marriage that took place abroad or outside of Canada must be valid both under the laws of the jurisdiction where it took place and under Canadian federal law in order to be considered legal for immigration purposes. So basically what they're saying is that your marriage has to be protected under the law of the country where the marriage took place. So if a marriage happened in Canada, then you don't have to worry because you are automatically provided guidance on how to legalize your marriage. But if the marriage took place out of Canada, let's say India for example, then the only document that comes up as a true authenticated proof is your marriage certificate. So if any Canadian citizen or a permanent resident is planning to get married outside of Canada, then they have to make sure you're attaching a marriage proof approved by the government, in which case there is no other proof better than a marriage certificate. For the conjugal partners, you can focus mainly towards how you both can prove to the government that it has become basically impossible for you both to meet up and live together due to compelling barriers, and also how one is very much dependent on the other for the living expenses and all that stuff. For the common law partners, your main focus should be towards how to prove your living relationship together through financial, social, physical, and emotional dependency, just like the married couples, but make sure to show as much mutual dependencies as you can by showing shared utility accounts like gas bills, electricity bills, telephone bills, etc., or any other documentation that proves that you were or have been living together at the same address. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is the photos. Now I see a lot of people asking me how many photos are to be included in the application, and I tell them that I submitted around 100 and 130 photos, but they're like, doesn't the website only ask for 20 photos? And I tell them it's their personal choice how many photos they would like to submit. If they find it hard to pack all their family occasions and functions in 20 photos, then they can go for more, but I also suggest them to have a word with an informed immigration representative to have an idea on what option will suit them best. Now this is not what I basically needed to talk about in the photos part. What I actually wanted to talk about is that when it's your marriage, you definitely invite hundreds of guests to your wedding, and then you end up submitting your marriage photos along with people you don't really know. So you have to avoid this. Make sure you're only submitting photos with the people who you really know. Much better if both the sponsor and the principal applicant know that person. You know, the thing is, My wife wasn't requested for an interview before finalizing her application, but you may get called for an interview. Who knows? So if the IRCC at the interview end up asking you the names of the people in the photo for authentication purposes, then you should know who they are. And I mean, it's just a speculation. You can be asked other questions as well, and this may or may not be one of them. So be careful beforehand. Now, the next thing that I wanted to emphasize on is the final check. This is something that you need to do right before you do the final submission of your application. No matter either you have hired an immigration representative for all the headache or you yourself are preparing the application, you need to be very careful in both scenarios because lawyers tend to make mistakes as well, especially when they have a lot of applications piling up on their desk. And you need to be extra careful when you are individually handling the application yourself, just because there will be no one else to look out for your mistakes and guide you. So right before submission, do a thorough check on the following areas. Make sure you have all the documents translated and notarized that need translation. Make sure there's no spelling mistakes, either it's the sponsor's name or the applicant's or the parents, anywhere on the application. Make sure your police clearance certificate is in colored format because it's one of the most important requirements of your application. Make sure all the pages on your passport that have stamps or visas attached to it are submitted. Make sure none of the submitted documents are expired or about to expire. And finally, make sure all the slots that ask for a signature are properly signed, just what I talked about in the first topic. Now, the final point that I consider very important and also that I recommend is to make sure to follow up with the CIC about your application status. Now, this is something that you do after your application is submitted. I see a lot of people wondering about this question right after they submit their file, is that how soon or how often should they be contacting CIC for an update? Now, you need to be aware of one thing here is that no application starts getting processed right after the carrier's notification that your file has been successfully dropped off at the CIC office. So calling the CIC agents too soon for an update is just a premature thing. Please avoid that. Just give yourself and them a little bit of time. First, wait until the AOR1, which is an acknowledgement from the office that they have successfully received your application. Just try avoiding jumping right in, and remember, your application, just like any other, will be processed as per the stated time frame. Now, a lot of people also say that you should not be contacting CIC until the advertised processing time frame has passed, for example 12 months for the spousal sponsorship cases, but that's absolutely wrong. You cannot and you don't need to just sit idle and wait for one whole year to pass before starting looking for updates. Some lucky applicants get their application processed in between the time frame without any contacting, while some unfortunately see a delay happening at each and every stage. So what you need to understand here is that you are not forbidden to call or email the CIC agents, but you need to be aware of the right time to call them. So let's say, for example, you received the acknowledgement of receipt, but it's been a couple months and you haven't moved on to the next stage, either the medicals or the biometrics or whatnot. That's when you should call or email them to have an update, because sometimes a file just gets mixed up and gets obstructed from moving forward, and that is when it should be the right time to call them. Just make sure you're not calling them too often because you don't want to irritate them. But yes, if there has been a sudden change in your profile, like you changed your address or your phone number, or you have a newborn child, that's when you need to call them immediately and have it updated. So in summary, don't be afraid to call them. Just make sure you're calling them at a regular, not so soon intervals, and for justified reasons. And before ending this video, I want to give you all one more advice. Just be patient and don't compare your file with anyone out there. Remember, everybody's file is unique with exclusive circumstances. Just don't stress yourself out by continuously fearing about your file. Just make sure before submission you have all the necessary documentation included, and then afterwards you're regularly following up on it. There is an online tracking tool that is provided by the CIC to track your file, and I will definitely make up a video soon to how to track your file with the help of this tool. Okay guys, so that was all for the video. Let me know in the comment section what other things you believe are important for a successful processing of your application that I missed in this video, as well as don't forget to hit the like button. And to have a better understanding about the spousal sponsorship in Canada, make sure to check out my other videos as well. And to have a couple more tips and tricks on this topic, make sure you're subscribing to this channel and turning the notifications on so you never miss out on any of my future videos. Till then, take care. See you again on Canadian Desi.